Good morning, children. Today we will study about the Mughal Empire. With the advent of the Mughals began a new era of Indian history. The Mughal Empire was established by Babur, who defeated Ibrahim Lodi at the famous Battle of Panipat in 1526. This slide displays the political history of the Mughal rulers. According to the revised syllabus, among the Mughal rulers, we will study about Akbar. The sources to reconstruct the age of the Mughals between 1526 and 1707. Literary sources. Under literary sources, we'll read about Akbari, archaeological sources, monuments, and we will study about the three monuments: Red Fort, the JAMA MASJID, and the Taj Mahal. Literary sources. Akbari. Akbari is written by Abul Fazl, who was a great scholar and a leading historian of the Mughal age. His best known historical works, Akbari and Akbarnama, are written in elegant Persian. Akbari contains 5 sections or 5 books. The first book deals with the royal household. The second book is concerned with military and civil services. The third book deals with the imperial administration. The fourth book provides information about Hindu theology, that is, the religious beliefs of the Hindus, and the emperor's fondness for books and persons with whom he could discuss religion and literature. The fifth book tells us about Abul Fazl's ancestors. It also presents an account of his life. Archaeological sources. First, Red Fort. The Red Fort was constructed by Shah Jahan in Delhi during the period 1639 to 1648. It is a huge structure made of red sandstone and marble. The Red Fort has massive walls around it, and the walls of the forts are covered with a succession of torrents, domes, balconies, windows, and perforated screens, which make the exterior of the fort extremely attractive. The fort has 2 gateways. The western gateway is known as Lahori Gate, which was used for ceremonial purposes, and the other gate was used for private. Within the fort, there are many magnificent buildings, including a public darbar called Diwan-e-Aam and a Diwan-e-Khas, which is lavishly ornamented hall where the peacock throne was placed. The hall was used by the emperor to give audience to the princes of the royal family, nobles, and other important dignitaries. Jama Masjid. Jama Masjid was built by Shah Jahan during the period of 1650-56. It is built on a lofty basement about 9 meters high and 1170 square meters in area. There are 3 gateways to the mosque, approached by majestic flights of steps on the south, north, and eastern side. The eastern gateway, highest and the largest of all, was reserved for the use of Mughal emperor only. The other 3 gateways give access to an open courtyard. At the 4 external corners are placed 12 pillared kiosks surmounted by marble domes. The central dome is the largest and the highest. On the north and the south sides there are 2 elegant minarets, each rising to a total height of about 40 meters and divided into 3 stages, each having a projected gallery. The face of the spacious prayer hall consists of 11 arcs, of which the central arc rises far above the roof level. The mosque is indeed one of the finest specimens of the Mughal architecture. Children, now you see, during the explanation of Jama Masjid, all architectural features were pointed out. So you should be clear what all architectural features stand for. That is why during the summer vacation, the project that was given to you was a pictorial project of the various buildings so that you know what are the architectural features of the building. Now let's continue, children. Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is the most outstanding monument built by Shah Jahan at Agra on the banks of river Yamuna. It was built in the memory of his beloved Queen Mumtaz Mahal. Ustad Isa was the architect who designed the monument. Taj Mahal is made up of pure white marble. It stands on a raised platform and is surmounted by the cupolas at each corner. The bulbous dome in the center has the appearance of an inverted lotus. There are 4 smaller domes at the 4 corners of the building. 4 minarets stand at each corner of the terrace. The outer walls and the interior walls are richly decorated with exquisite inlay work and calligraphy. Akbar 1556 to 1605. Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar was the greatest ruler of the Mughal dynasty and one of the greatest rulers of India. He brought glory to the empire and is called Akbar the Great. Akbar was only 13 years of age when he was proclaimed the Emperor of India. Bairam Khan, Akbar's tutor and his father's trusted officer, became his regent and looked after the kingdom until 1560. The Second Battle of Panipat. The Mughal army met Hemu's army on the historic battlefield of Panipat in November 1556. In the battle, the Afghan army was defeated and it brought the end of the Afghan resistance to the Mughals. In 1560, Akbar had finally taken over the reins of administration in his own hands. Akbar's claim to greatness lies in his 4 astonishing achievements. 1. Political unification of the subcontinent. 2. A system of orderly administration. 3. Land revenue system. And 4. Racial and religious conciliation in the country. Akbar's conquest. Political unification of the subcontinent. Akbar followed a policy of conquest for the expansion of his empire. His important conquests between 1560 and 1576 were Malwa, Gartanga, major parts of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Bengal and Bihar. To commemorate his conquest of Gujarat, Akbar built the famous Buland Darwaza at Fatehpur Sikri. The Mughals annexed Berar in 1596 and gained victory over Ahmednagar in 1597. Khandesh was included to the Mughal Empire in 1601 and thus Deccan, Akbar's dominion included Ahmednagar, Bijapur and Golconda. Thus Akbar was the first to firmly establish his authority in Assam in the east. In the northwest, the frontiers of the empire extended up to Kabul and Kandahar. Akbar's Mansabdari system, revenue reforms, and policy of religious pacification. Akbar was a statesman and a brilliant administrator. Akbar created an imperial service based on merit and graded according to the military rank called Mansabdari system. The lowest rank was that of 10, whereas the highest was 5,000 for the nobles and 7,000 for the princes. The Mansab held their appointment directly from the emperor. They got their remuneration in cash and not in land grant. The Mughal Mansabdar acted both as a military commander and a civil administrator. The status of the Mansabdari was not hereditary. Land revenue system. The land revenue reforms were introduced in 1580 by Todermal, who was the Diwan-e-Ashraf. Todermal devised a system based on a survey and measurement of land, classification of land according to its productive capacity, fixation of the rates payable in cash or kind by the cultivators. Akbar introduced the Dasala system. As a result, the agriculture flourished that boosted both trade and industries also. Law and justice. Akbar regarded speedy administration of justice as one of his important duties. The chief Qazi was the foremost judicial officer in the realm. The bigger towns had their own Qazis. The villagers settled their disputes through the institutions of Panchayat. Emperor's court was the final court of justice. Racial pacification. Akbar sought to bring about racial and religious pacification in the country. For this, he abolished Jizya, the poll tax on non-Muslims. State services were opened for the Hindus. The emperor patronized Hindu writers and artists. He had matrimonial alliances with the Rajput prince families. In 1580, Akbar started a new cult called Din-e-Ilahi. Din-e-Ilahi was based on the belief that there was only one God. Din-e-Ilahi required its members to accept virtues such as courage, chastity, and justice. It also demanded loyalty to the emperor. Din-e-Ilahi was never imposed on the people. Because of all this, Akbar ranks with the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka as one of the greatest rulers of India. The Mughal administration. The administrative system of the Mughal was partly designed on the pattern of Persian, Egyptian monarchs and Indian tradition. The administration was mainly the work of Akbar. The administrative machinery developed by Akbar was maintained under Jahangir and Shah Jahan. The monarch. The Mughal state was a centralized autocracy. That means the king's powers were unlimited. The king was the head of the government. The king was the commander of the armed forces and was also the fountain of justice. The king was also the chief legislator because his word was law. The Mughal rulers were often referred to as benevolent despots because they were concerned about their people and the good of the state. Departments of government, positions held by the chief officers of the state. The highest position after the emperor was held by Wazir and Diwan. The other important officials were Mir Bakshi, Khan-e-Saman, Chief Qazi, Daroga-e-Topkhana, Daroga of the Mint and Mir Arz. The next, Mansabdari system, land revenue system, army and the navy, law and justice are already explained under Akbar. So children, please go through these topics very thoroughly as they are the part of the Mughal administration. The provinces and smaller units of administration. The empire was divided into provinces called subas. During Akbar's reign, the empire was divided into 12 provinces, which later rose to the number nearly 20. The important provinces were generally under the princes of the royal blood. The provincial governors were called Subedar or Sipah Salar, was the head of the civil and the military administration. The Subas were further divided into Sarkars and Parganas. The village was looked after by the village panchayat. So children, in this lecture, we read about the political history of the Mughal Empire, sources to reconstruct the age of Mughals, both literary and archaeological sources. We read about Akbar, his conquest, Mansabdari system, revenue reforms, and policy of religious pacification. Under the Mughal administration, we read about the position of monarch, various departments of the government, Mansabdari system, land revenue system, the army and the navy, law and justice, provinces and the smaller units of administration. Thank you and stay blessed.